It's the year 2020. What do we talk about? What do we do? What do we focus on? Obviously, the term 2020 vision is probably going to get pretty old by the end of January. But seriously, what are the top 10 things you can do to ensure success now? One of the things that we look at each and every year is kind of lessons learned and some best practices and everything. And as I enter my 20th year in this industry, and I strive to learn something new every day, one of the things that I really try to focus on is what's something I can do, what's something I can control, something that I and only I can handle, whether it's attitude or whether it's your blood type or, just even little things like attempts and procrastination and everything. So this year for 2020, to start off our year, we're going to do a vloginar. I don't know if that's a word. We're doing these vlogs and we're doing webinars. But we're going to do the top 10 things that I truly believe you can do right now to ensure success. Welcome all to our vlog as we are going to talk about top 10 things you can do to ensure success. This one's a biggie. This one, I believe we're starting to see a little bit of a backwards movement. And I've, been a stickler on this since day one, and I don't think I'll ever give up this fight on this. And that's dress to impress. Mike in his Christmas greeting said dress to impress in 2020. Here's the thing, we talk about being comfortable, and in business, it's one of the death blows to a lot of business owners and leaders when you start to get comfortable in your position. And the way to look at that is you're getting a little lazier. And once that happens, you start to go backwards in results, in sales especially. Now, I could preach this all day long. We've done it, but when I look on our Facebook page and I see it, I go out on projects, for some reason, dressing up or even just dressing the part seems to be just optional. If not, don't even worry about it. Well, I found an interesting video. And so these vlogs today, these lessons learned, is not just going to be us speaking. I found an interesting gentleman named Paul McGregor that has 7 things that you can do, 7 reasons why you should dress to impress. And I really think he puts it so well, a lot better than I can. So enjoy the video.
Video today, I'm going to highlight the 7 biggest benefits that you will gain once you improve your style. So benefit number 1 is you increase your confidence. When you dress better, you feel better. It's as simple as that. You can relate it to losing weight. It's exactly the same feeling. If you're overweight and you're not confident and you're happy with how you look, then losing that weight can give you an increase in confidence. It can make you feel good. It's the same with if you're wearing clothing that doesn't make you feel good. Put on a good suit, start to dress better. It will slightly improve your confidence. Now, I've done videos on confidence before, and just by improving your style, you're not going to dramatically increase your confidence overall. It's a long-term thing that you need to work on, but it's a really good starting point. So when you dress better, you're going to increase your confidence and you're going to feel better. The second biggest benefit of improving your style is that it increases your authority. I remember reading a study about a year or two ago that said a well-dressed man earns more money throughout their career than a badly dressed man. Now, of course, people like Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs and other people like that are obviously against that norm, but if you dress well, you're going to demand more authority. Imagine walking into a client meeting ready to close a huge deal for the business and you're dressed in your gym stuff. That isn't going to make a good first impression, and it isn't going to demand that authority. Of course, you can still demand authority from what you say and what you provide, but walking in well dressed is going to demand authority up front. Picture two guys standing next to each other. One is wearing a very crisp charcoal grey suit, well groomed, and then the other guy is wearing his gym stuff. He hasn't done his hair and it looks like he's just rolled out of bed. Put them together, who demands more authority? The third benefit to improving your style is it gets you attention. It's going to make you stand out. Now think of this, if you're single and again you walk into a bar and you're not very well dressed, you're not going to demand that much attention. You're going to have to put in the work. But if you walk into a bar well dressed, looking good, you're going to demand more attention that way. You've probably heard of peacocking before when it comes to creating that statement. For me, it's all about creating a subtle statement. If you're dressed well, if you've got a nice pair of shoes on, if you're well groomed, you're naturally going to demand attention. But don't be afraid of making a statement. Do not worry what people think. Dress for you, don't dress for anyone else. The fourth benefit of improving your style is it saves you money. Bear with me, let me explain this point. It's going to save you money in the long run if you know how to dress well. A well-dressed man knows that it's all about investment pieces. They know that if they're going to buy a pair of shoes, leather dress shoes, they're going to invest wisely in a pair of dress shoes that's going to last them 5, 10, 20 years. A badly dressed man is going to go for the first pair of dress shoes that they see and they're going to save money up front. When you go for investment pieces and you go for timeless items that's going to last you for 5, 10, 20 years, you're going to save money in the long run. Stop buying items just because they're affordable, just because they're cheap up front, because you're soon going to have to replace those items of clothing because they're going to wear very quickly. Instead, go for more versatile, timeless pieces and don't be afraid to spend some money up front. The fifth benefit of knowing how to dress is that it saves you time. How many times before you improved your style did you spend deciding what outfit to wear? Maybe you were going out for a few drinks and you'd be there trying on one shirt, trying on another shirt, trying on one pair of trousers, another pair of trousers, and then time and time passes by. When you know exactly what's in your wardrobe, when you know what goes with what, when you know how everything should fit, it's very easy to get ready in the mornings. When you know how to dress, whenever you get ready, you have more time. As well, when you go shopping, you're going to have more time because you know exactly what you need to buy. And let's be honest, everyone could do with a few more hours in their day. So when you know how to dress, you are going to have more time on your hands. The sixth benefit is that you get more respect. Again, if you walk into a room well dressed, you're going to demand more respect. On the other hand, if you walk into a room underdressed and you're not dressed to what they expect you to be, you are going to lose that respect. On the flip side of things, when you start to improve the way that you dress, you can increase your respect for others. You might see a man who's dressing extremely well and you know all of the finer details that a lot of guys that aren't paying attention to how they should be dressing don't know, and you will offer them more respect. You also have a different perspective of things. You have achieved something. You've improved your appearance. So you have a different perspective and you can appreciate things more. And then last but not least is you will demand a better first impression. First impressions are very visual, so imagine bumping into this guy or bumping into this guy. Who would you be more impressed with? So there we have it, 7 benefits of improving your style. Let me know in the comments below some of the benefits that you may have received from dressing better.
My top 4 takeaways from this is increased confidence, increased intention, increased authority, and increased respect. You put those 4 elements together, you're going to get more doors open, more people listen to, and definitely more yeses. I truly believe those top 4 things will really make a difference. The number 2 thing you can do to ensure success is to make more attempts. Now, what's interesting about this, one of the most common things we say in sales is, it's a numbers game. You got to fill the funnel or fill the pipeline. And I think you got to be careful about that. I've done a lot of research through the years. And yes, I've always agreed without the attempts, you don't get the yeses. You don't get the starts. You don't get the follow-ups. But sometimes I think we have to think about it from the opposite direction. And that's what I mean is a lot of times we look at making attempts as if it's automatically going to get you yeses. A few years ago, a gentleman by the name of Richard Fenton put a book out called Go for the No. And what it really was about was trying to make as many attempts and get as many no's as possible so you would keep track of the no's to get your yes. Yes is obviously the destination, but no was how it got there. And that was really the premise of this book. Wasn't a big fan of this book because what I tend to see is people would keep track of their no's as if they're automatically going to get a yes. When it comes to the numbers game, quite often we usually say, hey, look, I don't care if you do cherry picks or good neighbor programs or you ask for referrals or knock on doors, whether you go in the morning, afternoon, evening, Saturdays, we don't care as long as you get the results. We use that line all the time. If you're successful, you're accountable to yourself, but if you're not, you're accountable to us or to your direct leadership. So let's talk about 8 real quick places you can focus more attempts. And again, maybe you're going to be better at some than other. Number 1, go for more cherry picks. I think it's one of the things that we tend to say do the 9 to 5, but I know a lot of people have bumped that up to 10. And that 10 means 4 more in a week, which means, again, 4 more chances to get a yes. More cherry picks, number 1. Number 2, more neighborhoods. There's sometimes we just stick into 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 neighborhoods. If it's on your way through the route or just a 1 or 2 or 5 minute deviation, fish where the fish is. I mean, a lot of times too often I think people get stuck trying to build in one little location. And if it's your owner or manager stuck on that, make sure you give us a call. Number 3, more doors. There's always doors to knock on. And a lot of times we look for signs of life and signs of love. And yes, that increases your chance of getting a face-to-face presentation. However, go knock on a door or two where maybe you might not think they're home, especially when you're making a delivery, especially with the Good Neighbor program. Number 4, more move-ins and move-outs. Now, hold that thought for a second. Quite often we say, well, if it's for sale, I've seen people not knock on the door. Well, one of the things that's really interesting is those people don't always sell their house right away, or they're going to be moving into another area that you're already in. So stay focused. Don't give up on the move-outs, but especially when there's a move-in, again, be the first one to pounce on them. Number 5, more networking. I don't think we network still enough. It's cold right now for a lot of you. Excellent opportunity to go to business after hours to increase your chance of not only just seeing maybe potential customers, but some of your current ones as well. Another one, number 6, more businesses. We can always focus on businesses all the time. I know it's not always the best target, and sometimes it takes multiple follow-ups and presentations, and the sales cycle can be a little bit longer. However, again, it's cold, and I hear that excuse all the time. Well, then no excuse. Go inside, get warm, and get a hot lead. Number 7, focus on more items like wash, dry, fold. Wash, dry, fold is becoming very, very popular in our industry. And what's really interesting about it is for us here at DCDU, at Route Pro University, we're finding that some of our best dry cleaning customers are also our best wash, dry, fold customers. We might get a bag every other day or every 3rd day or every 4th day, but we're getting a wash, dry, fold bag almost every day. And that's pretty key for keeping that pipeline going, especially when you're trying to do a route. And finally, focus on more retention. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But again, retention sometimes kind of gets put on the back burner, especially if you got these automatic text reminders or email reminders. We sometimes substitute that for we miss you knocks, and you can't do that. And we'll talk about that later. I know in sales from my own experience, sometimes I tend to migrate to the one that I like doing the most, but that doesn't always guarantee results. Sure, we want to be comfortable in our sales and we want to be able to want to go knock on a door or do a cherry pick. But again, if you don't do all of them, you're not going to get some other customers or some other leads that you're looking for. We talk about sales dashboards or your sales chart or gyms and all that stuff. And right now we've kind of got at Route Pro University or DCDU, several different things going on right now. But obviously, sales cannot be forgotten. Now, when it comes to having a sales dashboard, without a dashboard, without a unit of measure, if you think about your own automobile, if there wasn't a dashboard, you would run out of gas, you would speed and probably get in trouble, or maybe you'd go slow and you wouldn't be very efficient. You've got to know kind of also with those little warning lights of what's going on. Now, a lot of times we talk about KPIs and what. Now, obviously, people that know that I write pretty messy, this is not our sales dashboard. This was our brainstorming board. But we do have a sales dashboard here, and it's really important to know that it's right here when we first come in. So again, as you can see, we've got our date. We're focusing on actually this month, we're focusing on doubling up in 4 specific neighborhoods, but we're also working on sales elsewhere. And again, we've got 5 units of measure. We've got, starts, signups, we've got the follow-ups, we've got the no's, and we've got the attempts. And, when we do this just so that we can kind of keep track. And in your Wednesday meeting, you should go over that as well. So the 5 things you should go over are as follows. I think your dashboard should include the following. Again, starts, the true bottom line, a bag of clothes. We've got them going and we're ready to start growing. Number 2, signups. Very critical element. I think it's a very positive unit of measure. It's a genuine lead. It's really a very hot lead, but I know we're one step closer. And again, get credit card and or a start date. Number 3, follow-ups. You know you're doing it right if you got more follow-ups more than anything else. Number 4, no's. How many no's? No's for now, not interested. And number 5, look at the attempts. And there you can generate what your percentage of success rate, attempt rate, follow-up rate, all that. Very important to measure. Number 4 thing that you can do to increase your success in 2020 and beyond is to lead by example. I think that's the true definition of a leader. I think we've all seen it. I was at New Yale Cleaners, and Brandon Maloney kind of had that picture, that illustration where you see the guy sitting at his desk and all the subordinates, all the workers below him are pulling the desk, and it says boss. And below it, it shows that the manager is leading with them. He's pulling the ropes with them. And that's really the true definition of leadership, how to lead by example. I think if we look at our own situation, no matter what role we play, we can definitely be a leader. It doesn't have to mean you are the true manager. I found a really cool video. It's only about 2.5 minutes long, and I think it's an excellent illustration on how to lead by example. I hope you enjoy this.
There's an interesting story about Gandhi where one day a woman and her young son went to go visit him. And this woman had a son that was addicted to sugar. And nothing she or anyone else could do would get this boy to stop eating sugar. Doctors told him to stop, friends told him to stop, family members told him to stop, nothing worked. So she figured, I'll go visit Gandhi, and him being the wise and pious man that he is, my son will surely listen to him. So she waited for a long time to go visit Gandhi, and when she finally gets the chance to meet him, she says, Gandhi, please help me. My son is addicted to sugar. He's not listening to anybody, but he'll surely listen to you. And Gandhi looks at the woman, he looks at the boy, and he says, very well, come back in 2 weeks and we'll see what we can do. The woman was a little confused because she thought, why do I need to come back in 2 weeks? But nonetheless, she did. 2 weeks later, she returns back with her young son and she says, Gandhi, remember me? My son is addicted to sugar. Please tell him to stop. And Gandhi looks at the woman, he looks at the young boy again, and he says, son, you should stop eating sugar. And the woman was very confused. She looked at Gandhi and she said, we were here 2 weeks ago. Why couldn't you just have told him that then? And Gandhi says, well, because 2 weeks ago I myself was addicted to sugar. And how can I tell somebody else to stop doing something when I am doing that same thing? And I think this is a great story about this concept of leading by example. Oftentimes inside of our organizations, we have managers and executives that have certain expectations of other employees inside the organization. And they want those other employees to exhibit certain behaviors, but rarely do those managers and executives themselves exhibit the behaviors that they would like others to demonstrate. And so I think that this is a great story and something that managers and executives should really take to heart, because if you want other people inside of your organization to act and behave in a certain way, start with yourself and see what happens.
I really love that video about Gandhi and about leading by example. Why? Because your number one goal is to develop people, to turn potential into performance. That's looking at their wills and skills, at their attitudes and behaviors. Why? Because everybody around you will succeed and your company will succeed. Again, leading by example is definitely probably the most critical element any manager needs to know. Number 5 in our top 10 things that you can control right now that will ensure success. I'm kind of moving around. This is called a shift. That way, in case you kind of get bored, you can look at some of the fun stuff we have here at the office. I'm a big baseball fan. Of course, a lot of pictures here at Route Pro University. But retention. One of the things that I think is happening in our world, and we're seeing it more and more, is the automation of customer service. And dry cleaning is a very personalized service, very much about personal touch. So what I want you to do for 2020 that I guarantee will ensure success, you'll see better results, is more personalized contact with the 4 elements of retention. We're going to go over that real quick. Number 1, new customers. Anytime you get a new customer, whether it's signed up online, a conversion, whether you got them yourself, you should introduce or reintroduce yourself and try to make a live contact. When you're making that first delivery, knock on the door, ring the doorbell, say hi to them. Number two, say something to them about, hey, what do you think? You have any additional questions? Oh, by the way, we do wash, dry, fold. There's so much you can do with that first face-to-face contact. The second element of retention, current customers. Don't forget about them. Try to see them face-to-face. Say hi any chance you get. Granted, do the newspaper necktie and hang that newspaper up on the order. Bring up their trash barrels, but strive to say hi to them. Even if you know that you've seen them before, do it again. Get them to know them by name. Nothing impresses me more than when I'm with a client or with a driver and we see a customer and they recognize the driver and say him by name, whether it's at a restaurant, at a gas station, a grocery store. Nothing impresses me more than when that happens. The third element, retention, the we miss you status. Yes, we do text reminders. And yes, sometimes I think we substitute the we miss you component of that by saying, hey, we're still touching them with text. And I do believe texting is the better way to communicate than email. However, make sure you do a live face-to-face. It's amazing because they're not going to sit there and say why they're not using you to a text. But if you go up and ask them, 95% of the time they'll tell you. And finally, lost tuna, probably the most forgotten of all of them. I think we tend to just kind of take people off the manifest and just hope that they come back on their own. Stay on top of that. Mark it on your Spodio or whatever you're using. Put them on a separate manifest. I still love it when people have Route 86 where they create this lost tuna manifest. They put in the notes why they left. I see people do that and they revisit it every 3 months and it generates, or regenerates a new customer. Get personal, get more personal with retention. It is that important because I think everybody's getting used to that where you call, press 1, say why you called. You got these online chats that never get it right. It's very discouraging. Well, I guarantee if you can stay focused and get personal and see the whites of their eyes, you will see results in 2020. The next thing on your list to ensure success is increased accountivation. Now, this is a word that we've created a long time ago. Mark's done a great job of taking accountability and motivation and blending it in together into one word. And it is a teeter-totter. It is a balance. I'm going to dissect it a little bit further today as we look at 4 different elements of accountivation. And no matter what role you play in the company, you could play this part, whether it's internally, whether it's part of the network, part of the team. But if you do increase accountivation, you will increase success, not only of yourself, but of the whole company. Number 1 is self-accountivation. How do you balance that? How do you do accountability and motivation when it's on your own? As route developers, quite often we spend a lot of time on our own in a van. Well, I try to find ways to make sure that I get the job done. For me, internally, I do a to-do list every day. In fact, it's the last thing I do is create my to-do list, and I look at it first thing in the morning. And I tend to take it on one at a time. I don't look at it and pick and choose unless something just happens to come up. And when I do that, I find myself getting things done, and thus I reward myself. At the top of each hour, I tend to watch MeTV, which is oldies TV, and then I'll get on IMDb and look for either a blooper or I'll look for some person that became a star later on. By doing that, I find my ways to self-reward myself. Now, if I don't get things done or if I'm behind, nope, I don't get the reward. Some people use food, some people use movies or whatever. Whatever it takes to have self-accountivation, do it and practice it. If you find yourself getting in a rhythm of doing it, I promise you, you will succeed and it will bleed into others. Number 2, leadership. And this is leadership accountivation. And again, you don't have to be in a management position to be considered a leader. Quite often, a lot of you who have been elevated from within, who have rose to a new position, really was because you showed anybody, whether it was us, whether it was your boss, whether it was the owner, that you are self-motivated and self-accountability, but you're also leading by example. So again, very important, if you're in a leadership position, that you increase accountivation with your own supportive staff. If you do it, I promise you, they will succeed, thus you will succeed. Number 3, we don't often talk about this, but team accountivation. What would it take to be part of the team to make sure that in general, the whole organization has got accountivation? Sometimes it's kind of accountability putties, as we like to talk it. Sometimes it's just patting another colleague on the back. Sometimes maybe you're rewarding them by saying, hey, let me help you out today, getting their clothes ready or whatever. But as a team, measure what the accountivation looks like. And again, if you're in a leadership position, you play a very important part in this role. And finally, number 4, the fourth element of Countivation, and that is supportive. This is where if you have somebody above you, if you play a role where you have a direct boss or two, you can play an important part there as well to help them stay accountable and motivated. I think it's too often we look at it from a perspective as it's their job to get the job done and get me going. And that's not always the case. And it kind of goes back to the top about self-motivation. But again, look at your staff. Maybe sometimes your manager's having a bad day. Maybe they've got a lot on their plate that you can offer to help them with. When you do that, I guarantee it'll motivate them to help you. And also, if your manager drops the ball on something in a meeting, don't point them out like finger pointing. Too often we see that. We see the insubordinate part where we love to catch when somebody fails, especially a boss, especially, oh, look what they did. You know what? Just say, hey, look, maybe next time, why don't we try to do this better? Maybe I can help, or maybe you can go even above to your next level. Bottom line is, if you break down Countivation in these 4 categories, I guarantee you it will lead to success. Number 7, and they get quicker from here. Stay in touch with the Route Pros. Stay in touch with the Route Pro community. Whether you attend the conference calls or the webinars or even the conferences themselves. A lot of times we learn from you. We learn from each other. But what's really interesting is those that have attended our conference calls and been to our annual meetings, these are the ones that continue to succeed. Route Pro University is providing an opportunity for those to get training sooner than later and very much hands-on. Because finally, the Route Pros are here to help you.
Everybody on this planet has a gift. It's your job to figure out what that gift is.
In a world that's changing so quickly, the biggest risk you can take is not taking any risk.
The world is filled with talented people. With talent has to come preparation, has to come action, because at some point your physical talent is going to diminish. But what keeps that competitive edge is the ability to think and prepare mentally over and over and over again. We have tons of information available to us. Preparation is the key.
What is the number one reason why most of us don't start a business? Watch the answer. Fear. We're afraid. I've never done it before. I can't do it. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the education. I don't have the support. I don't have the idea. I don't know how.
You're going to go after the fight. You're going to go after it. You're not going to wait for the fight to come to you no more. You're going to go after it.
You just have to get started.
What are my goals today? I'm gonna grab something to start my day with where I'm going so I don't spend any time on where I've been. You believe it's the right thing to do. Belief is not some esoteric thing. Belief is some action you take all the time in the marketplace. Say, hey, your confidence, okay? You gotta build it until you're invincible. That's why you come to this. This is about massive amounts of action to get attention for yourself, your brand, your company, your products, your ideas, your dreams.
Guess what? There's always a next level. We all have next level ability. There's not other people that aren't holding you back. Your boss isn't holding you back. Your parents aren't holding you back. Those are excuses.
What you choose to do next is what we call in the movies the character-defining moment. Now, these are moments you're very familiar with, like in the last Star Wars, The Force Awakens, when Rey realizes the Force is with her, or Indiana Jones choosing mission over fear by jumping into a pile of snakes. Now, in a 2-hour movie, you get a handful of character-defining moments, but in real life, you face them every day. Life is one strong, long string of character-defining moments.
We're trying so hard in our lives to fit in. We try to fit into certain groups, certain frats, certain sororities, among certain friends. Yet the people we idolize most are the ones that stand out. But when you're prepared, there is no fear. There is no fear of failure. We've all failed at things. The dark side is filled with failure, but it's the fuel that burns you like something that's never burned inside you before.
There is no excuse for not living up to the fullest potential. No excuse. And I stopped saying I've got to wait for good things to happen to me. And I said I'm going to grind. I'm going to fight. I'm going to work. I'm going to press toward. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything in my power every single day. I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim.
Feed the beast. That's what I'm doing. I'm feeding the beast and I'm starving my fears, okay? I'm not focused on what happened, but what I want to make happen.
Now let me say this before I move forward, and I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose.
The truth is, you don't have anything to give that you don't have. So you have to keep your own self full. That's your job. There's no selflessness in that, because only through that do you have the ability to offer yourself, your whole self, your full expression of who you are to the rest of the world.
Here's the simple test. Does the decision that you're about to make expand you, expand your future, or expand the possibilities of your life? If the answer is yes, then the decision is yes, no matter how terrifying it is. If the decision will shrink you, will silence you, will inhibit you in some way, then the answer is no. No matter how easy the decision is, the answer is no.
2 more, guys. You guys are doing great. I really love that video, though, about no excuses. I really didn't even have to put any comments in there. It's the ultimate we can video that I think we've seen. There's a whole bunch of them on YouTube. And again, I always challenge everybody to kind of take a look at that and kind of see what they can learn or draw off of, whether they use it in their own route meetings or whatnot. 2 more left, like I said. Number 9, continued education. What I always say, learn more to earn more. I've always challenged myself to get a takeaway every project I go on, whether it's to validate something, to learn something new, try something new. You know, most of what we do at Route Pro University and out in the field is from you guys. We've learned from the best. And so one of the things I always think about, whether it's reading a book or taking a new class, is that continued education is only going to help you out. And I found a Brian Tracy video. It's about 3 minutes long that also talks about continued education, and I think you're going to enjoy this as well.
Hello, I'm Brian Tracy. Right now, I want to tell you about a concept that changed my life, and it changes the life of every single person who ever discovers it. And it is called continuous learning, and the concept of learning more to earn more. You see, we're living in a world of rapid change. Everything is right here, right now. Everybody wants everything faster and better than before, and people are so impatient that they say immediate gratification is no longer fast enough. The knowledge base in our society is doubling every 2 to 3 years in almost every occupation. And sometimes it's doubling or tripling every year or 6 months. And that most likely includes your work as well. This means that you must be doubling your knowledge every 2 to 3 years just for you to break even. It's a great tragedy today that most people learn enough to do their job and then they never get any better. 10 years after the average person starts their job, they're no better than they were after 1 year. These people don't understand why their incomes and their lives don't get any better either. In order for you to keep pace with the world, you must be able to learn, retain, and recall information at the drop of a hat. And if you can't, you'll most likely be replaced or passed by someone who can. Today we live in the knowledge age. Your ability to teach your brain to learn and assimilate new material is the most important skill you have, because everything else will become obsolete over time. One thing we know is that everybody is a genius or a potential genius, as long as they are learning in the way they were especially designed to learn. It's been said that on average we remember 20% of what we read, we remember 30% of what we hear, We remember 40% of what we see and hear, and we remember 50% of what we say. We remember 60% of what we do, and we remember 90% of what we see, hear, say, and do. The human brain is a magnificent organism. It's got 100 billion brain cells, and it's capable of intelligence that we cannot begin to imagine. The work done by Howard Gardner at the University of Harvard points to the fact that we have not just one intelligence, but at least 7 different intelligences. Each of these intelligences contributes to our reaching our full potential. We can recognize them as natural talents or gifts that each of us, including you, has to a greater or lesser extent. But a natural gift is like having a treasure buried in your backyard and not knowing about it. You can often go through life poor by thinking that because you didn't get good grades in school, and I sure didn't, that you're not a genius. The fact is that you are a potential genius. They just didn't teach you to learn in the way that you are designed to learn. In my next video, I'm going to tell you what those 7 important intelligences are. And when you discover exactly how you learn, you'll begin to perform at your highest level of intelligence all the time. And when you learn more, you earn more.
Pretty easy concept, learn more to earn more. When we did sports radio, we used to have a commercial called Eat Less and Exercise, the ultimate diet program. We kind of made up this commercial, and it was kind of funny. So learn more to earn more is pretty simple. But I think it works. You earn more respect, you earn more money, you earn more of a better chance of moving up in the company or in life. And how do you do it? Well, again, whether it's life, whether it's work, whether it's play, whether it's, in the job, whether it's in the field, whether it's from others, whether it's being on Route Pro calls, you learn success stories and what consistently works. And you learn some failures and some hurdles, and you get those takeaways and say, maybe we could have done it better, maybe we shouldn't do it at all. One of the things I always do is challenge people to watch one inspirational video a week and one educational video a week. It's kind of like some sort of development exercise that you can do. And if you get in a habit of doing that, I promise you, you'll have several takeaways that'll make you better. Which leads us to number 10, our 10th, our final one on our list. You guys have been doing great. I hope you guys are enjoying these. And this is what we say to raise your own bar. This is really important. How do you raise your own bar? Now, most of these lead up to skill sets, what we call wills and skills. But I'm going to talk to you and challenge you today about the 4 elements of wills. Several years ago, I created this little chart called Turning Potential into Performance, where it has willingness and capabilities and everything else in that. From that evolved this little willingness and attitude section, and this is what we're talking about today in raising your own bar. Number 1, do you have the willingness to succeed? Do you just want to be successful? Do you want to achieve something? Number 2, do you want to learn? We just talked about learning more to earn more. Are you willing to learn something new? Number 3, willingness to improve. Do you want to get better in your life, better in your position? And number 4, willingness to advance. Do you want to move up in the company? If you take a look at all 4 of these elements, you have an increased chance of not only succeeding, but getting better, not only in life and play and at home. So I challenge you to look at these 4 categories and see, and maybe rank them. See where you need to move up the most. See where you struggle. See where you might need the most help. But if you can achieve all 4 of these and you can look at your willingness meter, I guarantee you will be successful. That's going to do it for our top 10 things you can do to assure success. Ending with willingness, I think my favorite thing, favorite secret recipe for success. Are you willing to learn, succeed, improve, advance, all that? You will succeed. Hope you enjoyed the rest of them as well. Any comments, please don't hesitate to email us. If there's anything you want us to do for a vloginar or for anything else, don't hesitate. If you've got some interesting videos to send to us that we can use, send them our way as well. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020, and we'll talk soon.